guys, I'm going to continue reading Old Wolf today. This is chapter 29. Nishaba waited as three of the wolves moved toward their positions. Pildown remained. Nishaba touched his nose to his muzzle by way of encouragement, then turned back into the aspen grove. He moved forward noiselessly, placing his feet with great care. All the while he kept his eyes straight ahead, watching, ears cocked forward, listening. Pildown followed, stiff-tailed. Nishaba knew that Nikita, with the farthest to go, would take the longest time to get into place. That placement was the most crucial, because it would be exactly opposite his own position of attack. The moment Nishaba showed himself, the elk would bolt straight away from him. When they saw Nikita blocking their way, they would panic. That panic would give the other wolves their best opportunity. First, however, it was up to him as pack leader to commence the attack with a successful kill of that limping calf. Nishaba reached the clearing edge. With no moon or starlight, it was only ground snow that provided a pale glimmering. All else was shadowy. The grazing cows were pawing the ground, their breathing hardly more than little popping puffs. Nishaba looked for his target calf. The young elk was on the ground, legs folded under, near a cow. He might even be asleep. Better yet, Nishaba thought. Every second helped. Fleetingly, he glanced up among the surrounding trees and saw the glint of raven eyes. The 8 birds were deep among the dark branches, still as stone, watching, waiting. Nishaba checked the sentry elk. She was where she had been, but her movement had become agitated, suggesting she had become suspicious. The old wolf looked across the clearing, hoping to catch some glimmer of Nikito. He saw none. He turned back to the sentry. The cow gave a sharp snort. The other cows paused in their feeding, looked up and around. They are nervous, Nishaba looked for the cause. He caught the gleam of Garby's eyes. The young wolf had slipped among the trees behind the sentry cow, but instead of waiting, he was creeping forward, preparing to strike first. "Don't!" barked Nishaba in his head. "Don't!" The sentry cow jerked her head around and snorted. She appeared to look straight at Garby. "Don't show yourself," Nishaba cried out in his thoughts. "Don't show yourself." He turned back to his target calf. Even as he spotted her, the calf awoke and jumped up. The next moment, the sentry cow gave a sharp bark, the elk's alarm sound. She must have seen Garby. Her call brought an explosion of sounds from the elk, squealing, barking. Simultaneously, they rushed toward the trees. Knowing he must attack, Nishaba, front legs pumping in unison, sprang into the clearing, hurling himself at the calf, which stood frozen in terror. But the wolf's right front paw, the hurt one, buckled slightly, breaking his charge. Though he knew he was not close enough, more than 5 feet from the calf, Nishaba leaped, jaws wide, teeth exposed, aiming for the calf's haunches. Even as he committed himself, the calf's mother whirled about, shoved her calf to one side, and kicked out with a rear leg. The kick smashed into Nishaba's right shoulder, powerful enough to break his leap. He fell short, crashing to the earth. The cow and her calf burst toward the trees. On the ground, Nishaba heard sounds of hoofbeats, frantic elk barking, snarls and grunts from the wolves. All the old wolf could feel was the shock of terrible pain. He tried to move. He could not. The pain engulfed him. The next moment, his mind went dark, darker than the night. So, we learned in the previous chapters that Nishaba was real specific about what each wolf had to do in order to pull off this attack. And Garby, the wolf that had threatened him earlier, challenged him with this and seemed to set off a chain of events that led to an unsuccessful hunt and to Nishaba's even further injury. Chapter 30. Casey lay on his bed reading Archery Fundamentals, his new bow on the floor by his side. He and his dad had strung and restrung it a number of times, so Casey could now do it himself. His book was open to the section titled Finding Your Dominant Eye. After much testing, Casey decided his right eye was it. That eye, according to the book, should be the one closest to the bowstring when he shot an arrow. Then Casey went over to the 9 steps for perfect shot. Take your stance, nock the arrow, set your grip, pre-draw your bow, draw your bow, anchor, aim, release, follow through. His dad promised that in the morning they would set up a target for practice and work on all those steps. His mother looked into the room. "Hey, love," Toby Manhawk's mother just called. "Said the weather is bad enough that he can't come tomorrow." "Oh," said Casey, fully absorbed in his book. "I'm thinking," his mother said, "maybe we should postpone the party for a week. Snow will absolutely be gone by then. What do you say?" Casey looked up. A delayed party would mean a whole day to practice with the bow. He said, "Fine with me." "Sure?" "Sure." "I'll make the calls," his mom said, and retreated. Casey looked down at the bow, its smooth wooden surface and its graceful curves. He had never seen anything so beautiful. Tomorrow he would use it. Chapter 31. Nishaba. Nishaba could not tell where the pain in his body began, nor where it ended. He kept trying to move, but could not. He worked to open his eyes, but failed. He was not sure where he was or how much time was passing. All that he felt was pain, a universe of hurt, and he was the center of it. Then someone was licking his muzzle. Sensing another lick, he struggled to open his eyes and managed to squint. Tanagan was standing over him, bending so close he could feel her breath on his eyes. She licked him again. Nishaba lifted his head a few inches off the ground and realized that the other wolves were standing around watching. "How did we do?" he managed to ask. Tanagan said, "They got away." "All?" "All." "Nothing taken?" No reply. It was an answer enough. The effort to speak drained Nishaba of energy. He closed his eyes and lowered his head to the earth. He breathed deeply. "It was a bad plan," said a voice. Nishaba knew it was Garby. The old wolf wanted to curl his lips in disgust and show his teeth. The gesture was beyond him. "You're too old, Nishaba," called Darby. "Useless. You let a stupid cow knock you down." Nishaba waited a few moments, gathered some strength, and replied, "I ordered you to wait for me before attacking." "The pack should attack with strength, not weakness," Garby returned. Nishaba let the words settle. Then he said, "What happened?" "When you failed," said Garby, "it threw everything into confusion. They were able to get away." "So you too got nothing," said Nishaba. Because you failed," snapped Garby. Pain prevented Nishaba from responding. "But from now on," Garby continued, "we'll have strength to lead us. I am the pack leader now." Nishaba peeked into Tanagan's face. He saw his hurt reflected in her eyes. Full of anger, the old wolf pushed down with his front legs so he could stand and confront Garby. The effort brought agony. Collapsing, he lay on the ground panting. "Give up, Nishaba," said Garby. "You can't do anything." As the wolves lingered, Nishaba had a thought. "Are they waiting for me to die?" He lifted his head again. "Is that what you all want?" he whispered. "You want Garby to leave?" Pildown spoke gently. "Nishaba, we must find food." "I can still hunt," the old wolf said. "No, you can't," said Garby. "I have one more kill in me," Nishaba said, managing with great effort to look right at Garby. "Try," said the young wolf, and he drew close. Nishaba attempted to clear his mind of the hatred he felt toward Garby. He could not. All he said was, "Go away, all of you." Nishaba lifted his head a few inches. "Go!" he barked in a burst of breath. "Leave me alone!" He rested his snout on the snow-covered ground between his 2 large front paws and breathed deeply. Nishaba heard the wolves move away. He sensed that only Tanagan remained. She pressed her nose into his ear while making a small whining sound. "I'll come back," she said. "Go," whispered Nishaba, not even looking at her. "Tanagan," barked Garby, "hurry! We need to go after those elk." Nishaba made no effort to watch them leave. Instead, he stared at the snow right before him. It was pink, stained with his own blood. Blowing snow tickled his eyes, causing him to blink. He gave a deep sigh. The pain in his leg pulsed with the beating of his heart. All he wanted was sleep. Chapter 32. In the middle of the night, Casey woke to the ringing of the house phone. He assumed, because it happened with some regularity, that his father was being called for a power problem. He eyed his digital clock, 3:20 in blood-red numbers. Half awake, half asleep, Casey listened to his dad's voice but couldn't make out his words. He did hear his mother calling, "Be safe." Casey listened to his father's truck rumble and then within moments heard the diminishing sound of it crunching down the dirt road. The silence returned. Casey rolled from bed, raised his blinds, and looked out the window. Only a few flakes of snow were falling. High in the sky hung a crescent moon. Streaks of dark clouds moved slowly across its pale yellow face. The moon glow was bright enough to cast long purple shadows like reaching fingers across the silvery snow. Thinking it was going to be a good day for hunting, Casey went back to bed, forgetting to pull the blinds down, and quickly fell asleep. Chapter 33. Flakes of cold snow fell on Neshaba's face and brought him back to the world. He heard the flap of wings. It took him some moments to grasp that Merla was standing before him. Hearing more fluttering, he supposed the other ravens had gathered and were looking down at him too. Is he dying?" he heard one ask. "Could be," Merla replied. "How long will it take?" asked another. "Don't know," said Merla. Neshaba assumed they were waiting so they could feast on him. Ravens, which lived on dead things, always started with the eyes. Neshaba squeezed his shut, wondering if he would ever awake. He slept. So, what do you think's going to happen? I hope you're enjoying this story, Osage kids. Have a great day. Today's Sunday for me is when I'm reading this, so it's Mother's Day. Make sure you wish your mom a happy Mother's Day. Take care.